My husband laughed. She's too stupid to know I'm cheating. I overheard my husband drunkenly laughing with his friends. She's too stupid to realize I've been cheating for years. They all burst out laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. I didn't say a word that night, but when he showed up crying at my door weeks later, he got a surprise he never expected. We'd been married for 8 years, and I genuinely thought we were happy. Sure, things weren't perfect. Whose marriage is? I trusted Marcus blindly, defended him when others called him immature or self-centered. I even stood up to my own mother when she said he seemed too charming for his own good. Nothing could have prepared me for what I heard that Friday night in October. Marcus was supposed to be on his annual guys' weekend in the Catskills. They'd been planning this hunting trip for months, him, his brother Jake, and his co-workers from the accounting firm. But apparently, one of them got sick at the last minute, so they decided to just hang out at our house in Westchester instead. I'd been visiting my sister in Brooklyn, helping her move into her new apartment. The plan was to stay overnight and drive back Saturday morning, but her moving truck arrived early, and we finished everything by afternoon. I figured I'd surprise Marcus by coming home early, maybe order some Chinese takeout and watch a movie together. I pulled into our driveway around 9 p.m. in my Honda Civic, immediately noticing several familiar cars: Jake's pickup truck, David's silver BMW, and Tom's red Jeep Cherokee. The porch light was on, and I could hear music drifting from the backyard. Nothing unusual. Marcus loved hosting. As I grabbed my overnight bag from the trunk, I heard loud alcohol-fueled laughter coming from our deck. They were clearly having a great time. I was just about to walk around back and surprise them when I heard my name carried on the cool autumn breeze. I froze, my hand still on the car door. "Dude, how long has it been now?" Someone slurred. It sounded like David. Then I heard him. My husband. The man I'd been making coffee for every morning for 8 years. "She still has no clue," Marcus said, his voice thick with bourbon. "I've been sleeping with Rebecca for like 3 years now. Olivia's too stupid to realize anything." The world tilted. My knees nearly buckled. They howled with laughter, actual howling, like a pack of wolves. "She even made me pancakes the next morning," Marcus bragged, and I could practically hear his satisfied grin. "Told me I was the best husband ever." Meanwhile, her precious husband had just spent the night with his tongue down another woman's throat. My hands started shaking so violently I had to grip the car to stay upright. My throat felt like it was closing, and all I could think about was that very morning, me humming Taylor Swift in our kitchen, making him blueberry pancakes in his favorite Princeton mug, thinking we were deeply in love. And there he was, mocking me like I was some pathetic, clueless wife in a bad sitcom. But this was just the beginning of the worst night of my life. Tom's voice cut through the night air next. "Didn't you say you missed your dad's funeral because of a work emergency?" My heart stopped. Marcus's father had died 6 months ago, and Marcus told me he couldn't make it to Chicago because of a crucial client presentation. I remembered holding him while he cried, telling him his dad would understand, that work sometimes demanded sacrifices. "Yeah," Marcus laughed, actually laughed. "I was with Rebecca that whole weekend at the Hamptons. Told Olivia I had food poisoning and couldn't travel. She bought it completely. Even brought me soup and crackers." More explosive laughter. The sound felt like glass shards in my chest. I remembered that weekend vividly. I'd taken care of him for 3 days, bringing him ginger ale, checking his temperature, even calling in sick to my job at the marketing agency to nurse him back to health. Meanwhile, he was living it up at some beach house with his mistress. "Rebecca's got that beach house, right?" Jake asked. "The one her parents bought her?" "Oh man, you should see this place," Marcus continued, his voice getting more animated. "Glass walls overlooking the ocean, infinity pool, wine cellar. We spent the whole weekend in bed, drinking champagne and ordering room service, while my wife was at home watching Netflix and eating ice cream." They found this hysterical. I wanted to vomit. "How do you keep it from her?" David asked. "Doesn't she ask questions?" "Please," Marcus scoffed. "Olivia's so trusting it's almost boring. I tell her I'm working late, she believes me. I say I'm going to the gym, she believes me. Last month I told her I had to go to Boston for a client meeting, spent 2 days in Rebecca's apartment in Manhattan instead. Olivia even packed my suitcase and made me sandwiches for the road trip." The sandwich detail broke something inside me. I remembered making those turkey and Swiss sandwiches with honey mustard, his favorite, cutting them diagonally the way he liked, wrapping them in foil with a little note that said, "Miss you already." "What's Rebecca like?" Tom wanted to know. "Total opposite of my wife," Marcus replied without hesitation. "Blonde, tall, works in fashion. Drives a Mercedes convertible. Takes care of herself, you know? Olivia's gotten so comfortable, she barely wears makeup anymore. Spends most nights in those ratty pajamas, reading books." Those ratty pajamas were a Christmas gift from him 2 years ago. He'd said I looked beautiful in them. "And the sex?" someone asked. I shouldn't have stayed to hear the answer, but I couldn't move. "Let's just say Rebecca knows how to keep a man interested," Marcus said. "Olivia's become so predictable. Same routine, same positions, same boring conversation afterward. Rebecca's adventurous." They were comparing me like I was a piece of furniture they were thinking of replacing. I didn't confront them. I didn't make a scene. Some primal survival instinct kicked in, and I quietly got back in my car, backed out of the driveway, and drove aimlessly until I found myself in the parking lot of a 24-hour Walmart in White Plains. I sat there hyperventilating, trying to understand how my entire life had turned into a lie. 8 years of marriage, reduced to entertainment for drunk men on a Friday night. Then I called my best friend Amanda. "Liv? It's late, what's wrong?" she answered on the first ring. Through tears, I told her everything. "Don't go back there tonight," she said immediately. "Come to my place. We need to think about this carefully." As I drove to Amanda's apartment in Manhattan, one thought kept repeating in my mind. If Marcus thought I was too stupid to know, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. Over the next few weeks, I became an Oscar-worthy actress in my own life. I smiled when I wanted to scream, kissed him goodnight while dying inside, made small talk about his day knowing every word was probably a lie. The hardest part was the physical contact. When he'd hug me from behind while I was cooking dinner, all I could think about was him touching Rebecca the same way. When he'd tell me he loved me before bed, I'd wonder if he said the same thing to her. Every "How was your day, babe?" felt like a knife twist. But I had a plan now. Amanda, who worked as a paralegal at a law firm in Midtown, had connected me with her boss, Patricia Wong, one of the best divorce attorneys in New York. Patricia's first advice was clear: document everything. In New York, adultery affects alimony and asset division. We need proof. So I became a detective in my own marriage. I started small. When Marcus claimed he was working late, I'd drive by his office building on Park Avenue. Dark. Empty. When he said he was at the gym, I'd check our bank statements. No charges at his fitness club those days. I installed a tracking app on his phone while he was showering, disguising it as a battery optimization tool. I discovered he spent most Tuesday and Thursday evenings at an address on the Upper East Side, Rebecca's apartment, I assumed. The evidence started piling up like a prosecution's dream case. Credit card statements showed charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to, lingerie stores, jewelry boutiques. Hotel rooms at the Plaza, the St. Regis, the Greenwich Hotel. While I was budgeting for groceries and our mortgage, he was booking romantic getaways with his mistress. I found text messages he'd forgotten to delete. "Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. Last night was incredible. Olivia's working late, want to grab dinner?" Each discovery felt like a small death, but I kept going. Patricia called it dissipation of marital assets, using joint funds for extramarital affairs. I called it stealing from our future to pay for his lies. The most damaging evidence came from social media. Marcus had been so careful about his phone, but he'd forgotten about his iPad, which synced to his Instagram and Facebook accounts. I found photos he'd never posted but had saved, Rebecca in a bikini on what looked like the Hamptons beach house. Champagne dinners. Weekend trips to Napa Valley that coincided with his business conferences. But the real jackpot was finding Rebecca's social media. Rebecca Chin, a fashion buyer for Bloomingdale's, exactly as he'd described. Blonde, tall, Mercedes convertible, Hamptons beach house. Her Instagram was public, and it was like reading the diary of my husband's double life. Photos from the weekend of his father's funeral, Rebecca in a flowing white dress, champagne glass in hand, caption reading "perfect weekend getaway with my favorite person." The timestamp matched exactly when Marcus was supposedly bedridden with food poisoning. I screenshotted everything, emailed it all to a secure account Amanda helped me set up, and kept playing the role of the oblivious wife. How was Boston? I'd ask after his fake business trips. Boring, he'd lie. Missed you though. How's work been? You've been staying so late. Just busy season, you know how it is. Every lie made me stronger, more determined. Patricia was building an airtight case, and I was transferring half our savings to a secure account, removing him from my health insurance, taking photos of every valuable item in our house. All the while, Marcus had no idea. He still called me babe. Still asked what I wanted for dinner. Still posted anniversary photos on Instagram with captions like, 8 years with my beautiful wife. Lucky man. The comments always made me sick. Relationship goals. You two are perfect together. True love exists. But inside, I was ice. I wasn't just planning to leave him anymore. I was planning to expose him for exactly what he was. Marcus had spent years crafting the image of the perfect husband, and I was about to turn that reputation into his worst nightmare. His Instagram was a carefully curated showcase of our fairy tale marriage. Photos of surprise date nights, flowers he'd spontaneously brought home, romantic weekend getaways that I now realized were probably covers for time with Rebecca. The captions were particularly nauseating in hindsight. Surprised my incredible wife with dinner at her favorite restaurant. 8 years and she still takes my breath away. Hashtag marriage goals, hashtag lucky husband. Home is wherever Olivia is. Grateful every day for this woman. Hashtag true love, hashtag my everything. His co-workers ate it up. His friends from college constantly commented about how lucky Olivia was, how Marcus set the bar high for husbands everywhere. His brother Jake often shared the posts with laughing emojis and comments like making the rest of us look bad, bro. But the real masterpiece was his professional image. Marcus worked at Sterling & Associates, a prestigious accounting firm in Manhattan where he'd built a reputation as the reliable family man. He'd often mention my wife Olivia in meetings, used our anniversary as his computer password, kept framed photos of us on his desk. His boss, Mr. Sterling, had even used Marcus as an example during the company's work-life balance seminar. Marcus shows us you can be dedicated to your career while prioritizing your marriage. He never misses an anniversary, always leaves early for date nights, and still manages to be one of our top performers. What Mr. Sterling didn't know was that those date nights were often covers for meeting Rebecca, and Marcus would text me saying the restaurant was too crowded, suggesting we raincheck while he was actually at some wine bar in Soho with his mistress. The annual company gala was Marcus's favorite event. It was where he shined, schmoozing with clients, networking with partners, showing off his perfect life to colleagues. He'd been talking about this year's gala for months. It's at the Rainbow Room this year, he told me excitedly. Mr. Sterling specifically requested that I give the presentation to the Morrison Group. They're our biggest potential client. This could mean a partnership track for me, Liv. He bought a new Tom Ford tuxedo for the occasion, got his hair cut at an expensive salon in Midtown, even bought me a dress from Nordstrom to wear as his beautiful wife. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was spending our money on my costume for his performance. As I helped him with his cufflinks the night of the gala, adjusting his bow tie and telling him how handsome he looked, I almost felt sorry for him. He had no idea this would be the last night of his carefully constructed double life. You sure you don't mind staying home? He asked, checking himself in our bedroom mirror. I know these things are boring for you. Of course not, I lied smoothly. This is your big night. Go impress everyone. He kissed my forehead, the same lips that had been kissing Rebecca for 3 years, and headed out to what he thought would be his career-defining evening. I watched from our living room window as he drove away in his BMW, completely unaware that I'd spent the day preparing the most comprehensive email of my life. The subject line read, "The Truth About Marcus Thompson." The recipients included Mr. Sterling and the entire HR department at his firm, his mother and brother, all those friends who'd laughed with him that night on our deck, Rebecca herself. Rebecca's social media connections I could identify, and the piece de resistance, Rebecca's fiancé, whose engagement announcement I'd found on Facebook. Yes, Rebecca was engaged. To someone else. While sleeping with my husband. As I sat in our living room, surrounded by the photos and memories of our fake marriage, I hovered my finger over the send button and waited for exactly 9 p.m., right when Marcus would be giving his big presentation to the Morrison Group. The perfect husband was about to have a very imperfect evening. At exactly 9 p.m., As Marcus stood before the Morrison Group in the Rainbow Room presenting quarterly projections that could secure his partnership, I pressed send. The email was a masterpiece of evidence and restraint. I'd spent days crafting it with Patricia's help, ensuring every word was factual, every attachment legally sound. No emotional outbursts, no name-calling, just cold, hard truth delivered with surgical precision. The subject line, the truth about Marcus Thompson. The message began, this email contains documented evidence of Marcus Thompson's 3-year extramarital affair, including his use of joint marital funds for personal relationships and professional deceptions. Please see attached documentation. 27 attachments followed, screenshots of text messages, credit card statements highlighting hotel and restaurant charges, photos from Rebecca's social media, time-stamped evidence of his lies about work trips, gym visits, and family emergencies. The recipients received it simultaneously: Mr. Sterling, HR Director Jennifer Walsh, his brother Jake, his mother Patricia Thompson, and 12 friends including David and Tom, the same men who'd laughed that night on our deck. But the real bombshell went to Rebecca Chin and her fiancé, Kevin Park. Rebecca's email included additional photos I discovered on Marcus's iPad, intimate shots of them together that made it clear this wasn't just an emotional affair. Her fiancé's email was shorter but devastating, proof that his bride-to-be had been living a double life that matched Marcus's. By 9:15 p.m., the first phone started ringing. I sat in our living room, a glass of wine in hand, watching Marcus's phone explode with notifications on the kitchen counter. He'd left it behind, probably thought he wouldn't need distractions during his big presentation. The first call came from Jake. I let it go to voicemail. Liv, what the hell is this email? Call me back right now. Then his mother, Olivia, honey, please call me. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Please call me. David tried 3 times before leaving a message. Oh shit, Olivia. I am so sorry. We had no idea you knew. Please don't, just please call me back. But the most interesting calls came from Sterling and Associates. At 9:47 p.m., Jennifer Walsh from HR called, Mrs. Thompson, this is Jennifer from your husband's office. We need to discuss the information you've shared. Please call me tomorrow morning. At 10:23 p.m., Mr. Sterling himself called, Olivia, this is Richard Sterling. I've received your email and we need to address the situation immediately. Marcus will need to speak with HR first thing Monday morning. I saved every voicemail, every text message that started flooding in. Rebecca tried calling from an unknown number at 10:45 p.m. I answered. You have no idea what you've done, she hissed. Kevin left me. He took the ring back. He's telling everyone we know. I know exactly what I've done, I replied calmly. I've told the truth. You've been sleeping with my husband for 3 years while engaged to another man. Kevin deserved to know, just like I deserved to know. You're psychotic, she spat. Marcus loves me. We were going to figure out how to handle things. By keeping both your fiancé and me in the dark indefinitely? How generous of you both. She hung up, but not before I heard her crying. The real drama, I knew, was unfolding 60 floors above the city in the Rainbow Room. Based on the timestamps of the messages flooding Marcus's phone, I could piece together what happened. Someone had clearly interrupted his presentation. Probably Mr. Sterling himself, who would have received my email right as Marcus was discussing quarterly growth projections. Tom sent a text at 10:15 p.m. Dude, you need to get home now. Everyone knows. Your wife sent everything to everyone. Photos, texts, bank statements. It's over. Jake's text at 10:32 p.m. Marcus, Mom is crying. She called Dad's gravesite crying about how you lied about the funeral. What the hell were you thinking? But my favorite message came from David at 10:58 p.m. You called her too stupid to know. Turns out she's smarter than all of us combined. Damn, bro. You're screwed. As midnight approached, I heard the BMW pull into our driveway. The engine sat running for several minutes before finally shutting off. I checked my appearance in the hallway mirror, smoothed my hair, and sat back down in the living room with my wine. It was time for the performance of a lifetime. The front door opened so quietly I almost missed it. Marcus was trying to sneak in, probably hoping I was asleep, that maybe he could somehow contain the damage before I found out. Too late for that. I heard him in the kitchen, probably seeing his phone for the first time, watching 3 hours of his life explode in real-time notifications. The silence stretched for almost 10 minutes. I could picture him scrolling through message after message, voicemail after voicemail, watching his perfect life disintegrate. When he finally appeared in the living room doorway, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. His bow tie was undone, hanging loose around his neck. His expensive tuxedo was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. But it was his eyes that told the whole story, wild, desperate, caught. "Olivia," he started, his voice cracking. "We need to talk." "Do we?" I asked calmly, not looking up from my book. I thought I was too stupid to have a real conversation. He flinched like I'd slapped him. "You heard that night. Every word." I finally looked at him, and I could see him shrinking under my gaze. 3 years, Marcus. 3 years of lies. He stumbled into the room, fell into the chair across from me like his legs couldn't support him anymore. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I interrupted. "You've been sleeping with Rebecca Chen for 3 years. You used our joint account to pay for hotels, restaurants, gifts for her. You lied about your father's funeral to spend a weekend with her in the Hamptons. You told your drunk friends that I was too stupid to realize what was happening." Each fact hit him like a physical blow. He buried his face in his hands. "How long have you known?" he whispered. "Does it matter?" "Long enough to document everything. Long enough to protect myself legally. Long enough to make sure everyone knows exactly who you really are." "The gala," he said, realization dawning. "You sent that email during my presentation. Sterling pulled me out in front of the Morrison Group. They saw everything, Liv. My career is over." "Your marriage is over too," I said, standing up. "I filed for divorce this morning." He looked up sharply. "What?" "Patricia Wong is representing me. You'll be hearing from her on Monday. Though I suspect you'll be too busy dealing with HR to worry about divorce papers." "Olivia, please," he stood up, reaching for me. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this. I'll end things with Rebecca." "You don't get it, do you?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "There's nothing to fix. This marriage has been over for 3 years, I just didn't know it." "I love you," he said desperately. "I made mistakes, but I love you. Rebecca doesn't mean anything." "Stop." The word came out sharper than I'd intended. "Don't insult my intelligence any more than you already have. You don't cheat on someone you love for 3 years. You don't mock them to your friends. You don't steal from them to fund your affair." He started crying then, actual tears, shoulders shaking, the whole performance. A month ago, this would have broken my heart. Now it just made me angry. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Liv. I never meant for it to go this far. It just happened, and then I didn't know how to stop." "You could have stopped by coming home instead of going to hotels. You could have stopped by telling the truth instead of lying about work trips. You could have stopped by respecting your marriage vows." "Please don't leave me," he begged. "I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I'll quit my job, we can move, start over." "With what job?" I asked. "You think Sterling and Associates is going to keep you after tonight? You think the Morrison Group wants to do business with someone who lies to his wife about his father's funeral?" The reality was hitting him in waves. Not just the marriage, but everything, his career, his reputation, his entire social circle. "Everyone knows," he said, more to himself than to me. "My mother knows. Jake knows. The guys all know." "Yes," I confirmed. "Everyone knows exactly what you are." He looked at me with something between admiration and terror. "You planned all this. The timing, the email, everything." I walked to the hallway closet and pulled out the suitcase I'd packed for him earlier. "Remember when you called me too stupid to know?" I asked, setting it at his feet. He nodded miserably. "Surprise." Then I handed him the divorce papers. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment in Greenwich Village, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint the city golden. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Coffee later? I want to hear about your date last night." The date had been wonderful. Dinner with David Chun, a pediatric surgeon I'd met through a mutual friend. Yes, the irony of the last name wasn't lost on me, but this David was nothing like Marcus or his mistress. Kind, honest, with laugh lines around his eyes and stories about saving children's lives instead of elaborate lies about fake business trips. But that was just one small piece of how completely my life had transformed. The divorce had been swift and brutal for Marcus. Patricia was as ruthless as advertised, and with our documented evidence of adultery and financial misconduct, I'd received 70% of our assets, including the house in Westchester, which I'd promptly sold. Marcus had been fired from Sterling and Associates within a week. Mr. Sterling told Patricia's office that they couldn't maintain a client's trust in someone who demonstrated such profound dishonesty in his personal life. The Morrison Group had specifically requested he be removed from their account. He tried finding another position at competing firms, but the financial world in Manhattan was smaller than he'd realized. Word traveled fast about his public humiliation at the Rainbow Room. No one wanted to hire the accountant whose wife had exposed his 3-year affair in spectacular fashion. Last I heard from Jake, Marcus was working at a small tax preparation office in Queens, making a quarter of his previous salary and living in a studio apartment in Astoria. Rebecca hadn't fared much better. Kevin had not only broken their engagement but also shared the evidence with their entire social circle. Her Instagram, once filled with designer outfits and Hamptons weekends, had gone dark. According to LinkedIn, she'd left Bloomingdale's and taken a position at a small boutique in Connecticut. But the real satisfaction came from the friends who'd laughed that night on our deck. David had called me crying 2 weeks after the email, begging for forgiveness. "We were drunk, Liv. We were idiots. We should have told you immediately." "You're right," I'd agreed. "You should have. But you didn't, because you thought it was funny. You thought I was pathetic." Tom had tried a different approach, claiming he'd wanted to tell me but didn't want to get involved in drama. I'd reminded him that laughing about it for 3 years was getting involved, just not on my side. Jake was the only one who'd earned any respect. He'd driven down from Boston the day after the email, stood on my doorstep with tears in his eyes, and said, "I'm ashamed of my brother, and I'm ashamed of myself for not stopping it. You deserved better from all of us." Marcus's mother had been heartbroken but supportive. "I raised him better than this," she told me over coffee a month later. "You'll always be family to me, regardless of what he's done." The morning sun was fully up now, painting my small but perfect apartment in warm light. I had a job interview that afternoon, a senior marketing position at a nonprofit that helped women transition out of abusive relationships. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize, but the message was clear. "This is Marcus. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. I realize now how much I hurt you, and I'm truly sorry. You were never stupid. You were the smartest person in any room, and I was too arrogant to see it. I hope you're happy, Liv. You deserve everything good in this world." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some stories don't get happy endings for everyone. Some people have to live with the consequences of their choices, and some betrayals can't be fixed with apologies and therapy. But as I got dressed for my job interview, choosing a power suit that made me feel confident and strong, I realized this story did have a happy ending, just not the one I'd originally planned. I'd thought happiness was being the perfect wife to Marcus Thompson, making pancakes in Princeton mugs and believing in our Instagram-worthy marriage. Real happiness, I discovered, was knowing my worth, standing up for myself, and building a life based on truth instead of lies. And if that made me too smart to fool, well, I'd learned to take that as a compliment. The woman who used to hyperventilate in Target parking lots was gone. In her place was someone who knew exactly how much she was worth, and refused to settle for anything less. As I headed out into the city, I smiled. Marcus had been right about one thing: I really was smarter than he'd ever given me credit for. The difference was, now I knew it too.